All right, is everybody ready? We're going to call to order the Effingham County Board of Commissioners regular meeting this August 15th, 2023. A little bit tardy, 5:04 p.m. Apologize for that. We'll have a roll call. Mr. Floyd.
Here.
Mr. Burdette.
Here.
Mr. Corbett's here. Mr. Deloach.
Here.
Mr. Loper.
Here.
And Mr. Kiefer.
Here.
Everyone is in attendance, and tonight we have an invocation being given by our chaplain. And I'm going to let the introduction be given by our clerk, and welcome.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and board members and guests and staff, tonight we have with us Mr. Nick Pumphrey. He is our chaplain at the Sheriff's Office, and Nick is actually celebrating his 1-year anniversary with us here shortly.
Very good.
Mr. Pumphrey.
Well, I'm asking everybody if they please rise for the invocation, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for your love and thank you for your life. Thank you for all that you've given us. Lord, thank you for the blessing of the day. Thank you for an opportunity to come and conduct business as a community, Lord. We're just praying a blessing over all these people that would choose to serve. Lord, I pray that you just bless them in a mighty and powerful way to be used by you and for your kingdom and for your glory. Lord, I pray in a blessing of all those people that have concerns here tonight. Thank you for them being involved in our community and wanting to see our community grow and thrive, Lord. Again, just praying a blessing of mighty and powerfulness over them as we seek to be greater and to be better. And Lord, we just pray that it's all for your kingdom and all for your glory. Lord, thank you again for this time. Thank you for the blessing of the day. Thank you for all those that choose to serve, whether here or not. Lord, we thank you and we love you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have our agenda before us, and there are 3 items that I've asked to be removed, and I'll explain in a minute to those who might be here for those items tonight. Items number 12, 13, and 14 under new business will be removed from the agenda tonight if the motion is approved to accept that amended agenda. Are there any other corrections or additions to the agenda?
No, sir.
Okay. These items are going to be removed tonight. If you're here, there is agreements with Bryan County, between Bryan County and Effingham County. It has to do with the water and sewer IGA, sewer capacity agreement, and then also had to do with some easements. The chairman of Bryan County and myself got together with our attorneys and our engineers almost a month ago and agreed to 4 items that we would agree to comprise these items. There are some items that are still in that in those agreements that need to be removed that relate to water that will have to be done at a different time. So that's the reason I pulled the easements off. The sewer capacity agreement, which we are working on so that we could have sewer for our county in the I-16 corridor. The time period for which they are to supply that sewer agreement was too long. I shared that with Chairman Carter tonight by phone, that the 60-month period was too long. It wouldn't satisfy the capacity we needed, so I pulled that one. And then with the IGA, there was still a mention of water infrastructure, which we as a county have not even considered how we're going to loop our lines, tie in. Hadn't had any conversation with the city of Savannah yet, which is the water supplier. So for those reasons, there's some tweaking we have to do. I assured them we would meet, and we'd have gotten it done yesterday or today, but our county manager has COVID, and he has a very severe case of COVID. I tried to talk to him today, but he was coughing, he had fever, obviously didn't feel good, so finally I said, Tim, go back to bed. We'll address this in a couple of days, and I'll send an email out to Bryan County and the attorneys to let them know I'm pulling this from the agenda. So that's why they're pulled. We're very close on our agreements.
And you spoke to the chairman this afternoon, correct?
Chairman Carter?
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Spoke to him and told him this is why we were pulling it. Sent him an email and just spoke to him just before we entered this meeting. So those 3 items, that's why they're, so if you're here for those 3 items tonight, we won't be addressing those tonight, but we'll get to them in a couple of days. We'll discuss it with our attorney and our manager and try to get them on a very soon agenda. Hopefully our special call meeting by the 29th. But the project should go forward for the Hyundai plant because we've given a temporary easement, all construction, there should be no holdup. They should be able to continue to bulldoze along until we get these agreements signed. So with that long explanation, is there a motion to approve the agenda with the corrections as noted?
Okay, sir, I'm sorry, if we can, are we removing it, or are we postponing it?
We're removing them from the
We're
agenda.
removing them
Yeah.
from the agenda,
We can
okay.
put them on a future agenda because it might go on the call meeting, could go earlier if we need to.
I
So
understand.
we're just going to remove them tonight.
Okay,
So
thank
motion
you.
is to approve the agenda with the removal of items 12, 13, and 14.
That's
Motion,
so moved.
Second.
motion by Mr. Kiefer, second by Mr. Deloach, to approve the agenda with the noted amendments and corrections. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Excuse me. Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. Next item is consideration to approve the August 1st, 2023 regular commission meeting minutes. Are there any corrections or additions to those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Burdette to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, the minutes are approved. Welcome to everyone who's here tonight for this meeting. Comments shall pertain to the agenda items only, please. Should you wish to make remarks, clearly state your name in the microphone when you come forward. And then when you speak, if you could keep your comments to 2 or 3 minutes, that would be very helpful so that others can have a chance to speak. All the correspondence related to this meeting and this discussion tonight, this agenda, all the documents for this meeting are located in the clerk's office and the Board of Commissioners website. And with that, we have a consent agenda. I'll read the items and then we'll see if there's any item that needs to be pulled off for discussion. And if not, we'll take one vote on the entire consent agenda. Item number 1, consideration to approve to renew an agreement with Gas South for natural gas services for multiple county buildings. Item 2, consideration to renew a lease agreement with Crown Castle for the cell tower located at 247 Church Road. Item 3, consideration to approve the Georgia Indigent Defense Service Agreement for fiscal year 24. Item 4, consideration to approve an agreement from Eagle View for pictometry flights. Item 5, consideration to approve to accept the second payment from the Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund. Item 6, consideration to approve a grant agreement from DOT SS4A. And item number 7, the last item on the consent agenda, is a consideration to approve an easement agreement with Georgia Power related to county property located at 321 Highway 119 South Public Works Maintenance Building. That is our consent agenda. If there's okay to consider all at once, I'll take a motion to approve as read.
Motion to approve is read.
Second.
A motion, Mr. Loper, second by Mr. Roach to approve as read. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, the items on our consent agenda are unanimously approved. And with this moves us to unfinished business. Item number 1, the planning board recommends approving an application by T&T Exley Properties to rezone 274 of 1,047 acres located off of Highway 21 from PD-MU to PD-MU to allow for the amendment of a planned development, map number 466D, parcel number 1, 6, 9, and 11 in the 2nd district. This was postponed from 7/18/23. We had a public hearing the last meeting we were here. I want to do it this way this evening. I would like for the developer to come. I think they requested the postponement so they could address some things. If you could just highlight only 2 or 3 minutes, the things that you have addressed that you want the public and the board to hear. I have read through it. I think the board has read through what you've given us as much as we could. And we'll start there and then I'll move forward, okay?
Now?
Yes, sir. you asked for a postponement, so I want you to go ahead and just share what is different from what you had mentioned at the previous meeting.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, we have a handout that I would like, with your permission, to give to anybody in the audience that would like to have
You'd like
the
a handout,
material.
raise your hand
So if you
and-
raise your hand, and my son Joe will give it to you.
Okay.
Thank you very much for giving us an opportunity to come discuss the differences in what we had on the table before and now. The major thing, well, all of it's major, but in a lot of people's eyes, the most major thing is we have increased the setback to 150 feet. We will establish a 25-foot undisturbed buffer from the northern property line in the first 25 feet. The only thing that can go on in there is stormwater if there is an issue. We don't know that there will be an issue, but if there is, then we need to be able to go in and minimally channel whatever water is backing up on somebody's property, because we don't want to be, excuse me, doing that. Also, if a tree falls down, breaks up a bunch of what is natural growth there now, we need to be able to go in and clean it up. If a tree falls down or something else happens to the fence that's there now, we want to be able to go take care of repairing it, replacing it. The next 15 feet would be a corridor that we would only impact if needed to build the berm. You got two sides of this 25-foot tall facility that you can't get the equipment, as I've been told, to work from just one side to effectively build it. And if there is an erosion issue or something on the berm, we have to be able to get equipment in on that side of it. And the next 110 feet would be the berm itself, which would be 25 feet tall. There'll be a 5-foot plus or minus, we're not exactly sure until they get final design, a relatively flat top. It will be landscaped and irrigated. And at the workshop, y'all were talking about landscaping on berms. Our thought right now is to put the top of it in Iliagnus, because it does grow up to give us probably another 6 or 8 feet for sure, maybe as much as 10 feet of additional screening on top of it. Plus, it's very difficult to traverse through it if anybody ever wanted to climb up. If you've ever climbed a 2-to-1 slope, you know that it's quite difficult. When I was younger, I might have been able to do it, but I'm sure not going to try it today. Another thing we had asked for 9,250,000 square feet, but it wasn't as clear in the document as what it is now. We were asked to go in and do a layout that would maximize the density, or at least we understood what you were looking for, was what is the worst case scenario or the highest yield scenario on this piece of property, which we've done. And it shows what we're asking for now is 9,500,000 square feet. Now, that's not just on our site. Our site is about 2.5 million square feet. The whole PDMU will be limited to 9,500,000 square feet. Let me flip through here. I think that there was another mention or failure to mention, even in the original PDMU, any setbacks between on the commercial highway frontage and residential. And we have inserted a sentence in there that says that the highway commercial, where it abuts residential, would abide by whatever the Effingham County regulations require.
Okay, is that pretty much the
Just one second.
material items?
Yes, sir.
Is there a drainage system somewhere? I thought we talked about that before.
Well,
Somewhere.
is there a drainage system?
I was thinking there was, I thought when we talked about runoff from the berm before.
Oh, yeah.
I
Well,
thought you said there was
that's-
a strip in there that was gonna help funnel the water out, or,
thought, but it has not been designed, is that a culvert, probably elliptical because you get a flatter bottom in it, would be placed periodically underneath the berm to
Okay.
when we get in and do detailed topographical evaluation of it, we'll be able to tell where those need to be. I can't sit here and say every 150 or every 300 feet there will be something, but wherever the natural flow is going now is where we will be directing it to.
Okay.
There's also, I'm glad you asked that, there's also an issue from an adjoining property owner that's been in existence for quite a long time, Alice Hurst's property. I'm going to, we had scheduled yesterday meeting, and she sent me a text asking saying that she was not ready to meet, she was not feeling well. So we didn't, but I'm committed to going in there and figuring out what is causing the backup of water and coming out. I'm not physically gonna do it, okay? We're gonna get it done though, so that she does not have water backing up from our property onto her property.
Yeah, and I, just so you know, I guess, I've asked our department to go out and do an investigation study to see if there's anything that's been done on that property that's created an issue as well. I haven't read the report, but I understand we got that done.
Oh, good. I would like to have a copy of that. Please give us a copy of that report, because if we're guilty of doing something wrong, we sure gonna correct it
Well, I don't think it's
immediately.
intentional, but if there
Oh,
is anything, we want to make sure that
Yes.
we resolve those things. I went out and looked, and I saw the water on the property out there as well, so,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah, I just had one question. I just kind of, this is just, I guess, for over clarification, is I've just had a couple comments from some of the neighbors. I think they are a little concerned on the 15-foot wide construction road. That for some reason, in my mind, it wouldn't make sense business-wise to do this with the warehouses, but they're kind of worried that there may be, I think, maybe some commercial traffic that gets through there. I don't even know if that can legally happen. I know you're quoting maintenance, but I just wanted to just state that, I mean, I assume your only, I guess, purpose for that 15-foot road is just maintenance on the 25-foot undisturbed buffer or the berm.
That is correct.
Okay.
But to elaborate just a little bit, we've also got a restriction, we can't build anything in that 150 feet. So that 15-foot corridor, and we can't pave in that 150 feet. So that 15-foot corridor does not lend itself to any commercial use.
Okay.
But we have no intention of doing it.
Okay.
We're not, if we were intending to pave it or do something else, make it more permanent, we'd have to ask permission to do it. But our thought right now is, there's no incentive for us to take down any tree. So if we can go in and selectively get pockets where the machinery has long arms on it to dump the dirt or whatever, and it can sit here and not disturb the next 50 feet, and then go over and disturb a section big enough for it, and skip the next, that's what we're gonna do, because it doesn't benefit us to be taking the trees out.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you.
We may have some more
Well,
questions.
I got a question. There was a concern or a question, some wording was changed from buffer to setback. Is there any difference? What was the reason for that?
The PD, the way we read it, is a different animal than your regular ordinance. We're putting in restrictions on that 150-foot setback that are not in the general ordinance. There are a lot more things that can be done in a buffer or in a setback than what we're asking permission to do. So that's the primary reason. I guess that's the only reason.
Well, and to my thought, I was gonna suggest if you went forward tonight, that we call it a buffer for this reason. If you put stipulations on the buffer, and Lee, you can correct me if I'm in error on this, we can put stipulations on the buffer tonight. Okay, I get that. But if we miss something, if you do something that's not stipulated, then the ordinance could provide some protection. It would require variance, which means they'd have to come back to this board to do additional improvements in that buffer. And that's why I like the buffer language personally. We try to get it as tight as we can on the buffer. But if we miss something, then you have to.
We're not asking permission, Mr. Chairman, though, to do anything except build a berm, have potentially a 15-foot strip.
Understand.
We can't do anything else. I mean, so,
Then the buffer wouldn't bother you?
Without a variance.
no, the buffer does bother me because there's other language about buffers. I mean, think I brought it up here with me, but our attorney
Yeah.
researched it, and it goes into a whole lot of other stuff. That's one of the reasons we have a PD, is so that
But
we
it shouldn't
can.
affect you if you just do what we ask you to do in the buffer tonight. It shouldn't affect you, am I correct? If this board should decide so much undisturbed, so much for drainage, so much for a berm, I don't know any restrictions that we'd be putting on them, except if they want to do something different, we'd have a chance to have a voice in it.
Well, I would just recommend that what you do tonight is very specific and have parameters, because it is a PD. So it's, you know, if this is what they're going to do, then it looks spelled out to me. I'm not sure what, I mean,
You're saying they couldn't do, there's nothing else they could do under a setback that we would not know about or catch tonight?
what, I mean, I think you just asked if they intended to do anything other than this 150 feet, and it's defined the way it is. I think we definitely can hold them to that.
If we didn't have a definition in there of what we were doing in it, then I would have to say, yes, there's room in there for us to come up with some other idea. But unless we come back, and I haven't studied the thing about buffers. I mean, y'all were discussing in your workshop that there's some things in the buffer that need to be clarified. I don't want us to be moving forward with the uncertainty. We're comfortable with this. Setback doesn't open the door for us to be able to do anything.
There's a reason
Buffer
that
closes the
word,
door.
you said the lawyer, there's a reason that word was changed. I'm trying to find out why.
Probably because I asked him to change it. Because as I read the material, buffer has more stuff in it. The definitions in your ordinance of buffer is broader than this. Let me ask you to do this. I'm not here to be argumentative, guys, but I want to be cautious. We've got people in the audience that probably want to speak. If you would let me talk to Mr. Exley, talk with our attorney, just go out in the hallway for a minute and let the other people come up and talk while we're out.
We're
and
gonna
then-
limit all that tonight, because we've
Yeah.
heard, I just wanna make sure we have good information.
Can I have 5 minutes to meet with them in the hall while the other people?
Let me ask you a question before you do that. There's been some talk about this as well, the 25-foot undisturbed buffer, but then you've got exceptions to being undisturbed. There's some conflict there. I mean, is it undisturbed or is it not?
So if a tree falls across the fence, I can't touch the tree, I can't touch the fence.
That's different than what you're.
No, it isn't. That's why it's in there that says that's a.
You said for drainage, even for drainage.
Drainage,
So
utilities,
drainage,
some other stuff that I thought was in there. I'd have to look again.
we need to be able to put, if there is an issue,
And I get that. We're not gonna limit you from service in that area, but I
well,
want
then
that area to be
then what, put the language in that gives us the right to go and maintain. If a tree falls down and messes it up, what's the language?
Okay.
That's what we wanted in there. If there's a stormwater issue that needs to be addressed, that's what we want to be able to do. I don't want to have to wait 60 days while the issue gets worse and worse to get on the agenda to come back in here to see you. We shouldn't be
True, but I
having to
also
do that.
don't
So
want digging in there for stormwater purposes in an undisturbed buffer area. You know, that's not what that's for. Undisturbed should be undisturbed. It's the place between these people's houses that already has mature pine trees and everything on it. I want that to be able to stay.
We do too.
So if you got a problem, maybe you need to move the berm out or something, but I'm not gonna disturb that buffer.
Mr. Burdette, you're going beyond, way beyond where we're thinking of that 25-foot
Okay,
buffer,
great.
right?
So
But
I can live with
let me explain. We cannot back water up on the adjoining property. Now, we've got a natural topography that's going from uphill where the houses are to downhill where we are. So there is a positive situation there. But if there is debris, the neighbor cuts their grass and throws all the stuff over the fence, and it blocks where the water was previously flowing. If the language is in there, it is undisturbed, undisturbed, undisturbed. Sorry about that, but they don't have the right to come on our property because it's our property, not theirs. I mean, I'm trying to keep those sort of things from coming up. We have no intention to dig. We can put in there, no digging, excuse me. If there is a swale there now, and there might be, and I don't know, we've got to be able to maintain it because that's where the water's flowing right now. We're putting in here no other utilities, by the way. So there won't be telephone lines and power line. Now, if the telephone company or the power company has to put something through, they've got the right of condemnation. I don't think y'all have, maybe you do have some way to stop them, but we're not asking to be able to run utilities, water lines, sewer lines, or anything like that. We're specifically stating that we cannot do that.
I was trying to find that buffer language you're talking, because I thought I saw something there too that sounded like you could do more than just
Yeah. there
maintain.
is.
You have to forgive us, because we hadn't had this
It
document very
says-
long.
It says, which will be undisturbed and free of utilities except for stormwater facilities, which existing
pond.
fencing and management, existing fencing or its replacement.
I think that's what called the stormwater facility. I'd want
Yeah,
that to be
that's-
done other than in the buffer. Here's my thoughts, and then we.
All right, wait a minute, hold. So if there's a stormwater issue in that 25 feet, that's not our responsibility.
No, sir, it's your
Well,
responsibility.
how do we take care of it if we don't have the right to
But you
maintain?
told me to hold on.
No, I did, excuse me, I wanted you to know that if that's what you're saying, then
Hold on, I'll share
we'll
with
go,
you.
yes.
No, I'm saying that in that undisturbed buffer, that's not where you fixed that. You fix it on the other portion of the buffer. And if that takes more land to get the berm, that's what I would want to see. In other words, if the 25 foot has got
Within
water,
facility, we're talking about natural topography and grading various, if it takes going in with a rake and a shovel to get stuff so that it'll flow where it has now previously been flowing, that's what we're talking about. Not putting a pipe in, not putting a catch basin in, none of that. We can add that language that no,
wait, let me share with what
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking for the board, and y'all get some feedback on this. And then let's give about 10 minutes for the public to hear what they're hearing, because they're the ones being offered the opportunity to avoid multifamily for the industrial. So I wouldn't mind hearing, once they hear our discussion, okay? But I'm thinking, if our attorney says buffer or setback doesn't matter, then I'll follow our attorney. I like the buffer from the fact that if it was a variance that we didn't cover tonight, it would come back before us. We could have to get permission. But maybe that's true with the setback as well. But I hear Mr. Lee saying setback or buffer, just put the specifics and we should be protected. Is that correct on the buffer?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
just in fairness to the applicant, I mean, just so everybody knows what the expectations are, so they can't go back and change something, so we can't go back and change something, trying to, I guess, bootstrap the ordinance. I mean, it is a PD, right? So
I
there's a
got you.
lot
So-
of discretion here, and,
Putting his hat on, I could see their fear would be that we might try to put something on them that we shouldn't put on them because they're doing what we asked. I got you. The other thing I was gonna suggest is that, I like that you did the 150-foot buffer, because we have some precedent where there was residential, and when they provided a berm, we did go from the 300 to 150 because it did reduce the sound. I think you showed some studies on that. It reduced the sound, reduced the lights, it reduced a lot of things that we felt comfortable with going from 300 to 150 with the berm. But we had a 50-foot undisturbed buffer in that particular situation. And I was gonna suggest this amount of undisturbed buffer ought to be 35 foot. And the reason I would leave 15 foot is because I would like to see as a condition that there would be a stormwater drainage design that our development services could review and make sure it's gonna handle the water, appropriate culverts underneath the berm if it needed. Because where there's a berm, there is a pretty big embankment there. Water can come down, it can accumulate. I wanna make sure that's being handled. And I think 15 foot from the berm to the undisturbed buffer should be enough room to, this is my thought anyway, development services can help me, to design appropriate drainage to make sure that water doesn't back up on, I think you said Miss Alice's land or Goshen Hills or anyone else on that side that is handled. And then I'd like to limit this to warehousing, the way the PD PEC that I read there. There's a bunch of things that could happen. I don't think it's gonna happen, Mr. Murray, but it is there. So,
a minute.
you know, manufacturing could be there. I know you wouldn't do it, but it could be there. It'd be very easy to, in this PD text, to limit it to warehousing. Right now, it can have some manufacturing in it. There's a whole section on manufacturing.
So you're saying that the provision that's in the industrial section now, which is in the PD, approved PD right now, not for where we are, you want to amend? I'm gonna have to ask you to,
No.
give me a few minutes
Yeah,
to talk.
what I'm talking about is not.
We
not-
can't do that.
I'm not talking about for where you already have your warehousing.
No, I
going.
know. I don't own that anymore.
Just the portion where the new property is. 'Cause I would-
Let me talk to Mr. Exley.
Let me finish, okay? Because I wouldn't want any manufacturing there. Assembling, fine, warehousing, fine, but I would not want a junkyard, I wouldn't want manufacturing. I think
Junkyard,
that's
I
the-
don't think is allowed. I mean,
Well, stacking containers, a lot of things I wouldn't want there. That's in the current PD text. It's in there.
shoot,
Am I correct? Is it in there?
That's fair, I mean.
there are height limitation. Container stacking, I don't think,
Container stacking
Is-
is a conditional, but I
Yeah,
don't know how
I
that
think that's
affects.
in a regular.
it's, every warehouse has trailers that sit empty
Yeah, they're
in
fine.
their, I mean, the normal warehouse operation has some trailers and some containers, but it's not container stacking, that's already limited, y'all just redid
It is,
it.
but he wants to make sure, and sell it, and somebody else comes along, they don't go 5 high with container stacking. And we do have an ordinance to cover that now, but I don't know how that relates to a PD.
Here's what's would be permitted in that 2,500 acres where you said.
It's all written out right there, yes, sir.
Ready-mix concrete facility, that'd be very noisy. Trailer storage. Recycling centers. There's several manufacturing type things that are available. I'm just saying that those things to me would be an issue, because I think in the original PD, I bet it was designed to have a buffer from those type of things. That's why the
But
residential.
what we're doing is a 150-foot buffer with a 25-foot tall berm, so, excuse me just a second.
I don't think you
I
follow
thought
my.
you was calling it a setback. This is my issue. Words matter. There's a reason that was changed. Stormwater facilities, I recently had some drawings done, and I said, what's stormwater facilities? That's the retention pond for the piece of property. I know I know it's just to go in and clean up, but if that word's in there, that means retention pond.
Yeah. So
That's the kind of stuff that
Before you
concerns me.
speak, and then I need to hear from the rest of the
Hello,
board.
my name is Tom Exley.
So Tommy, but my biggest concern, make sure you understand, is that there'd be an undisturbed buffer, that there'd be a proper drainage between that undisturbed buffer and the berm, okay? And that we would limit this so there could not be these other industrial uses that would have been okay for where the other warehousing are, because they're away from the residential section,
Gentlemen, I understand your concern.
okay?
As we keep coming back to one of the things that's called a catch-22, there will be what they call a site plan that shows everything. We can't engage with an industrial developer because this land is zoned residential. Remember, we're dealing with a residential approved
We're aware of that.
P that's jammed. I can see the concern of the 25-foot not being ever deserved. Can we do our drainage in the 15-foot? I am not, these engineers may can say, can we? Then I reckon we can. Yes, we don't want to touch a tree. We want to lead the fence, we want the 25-foot to be completely undisturbed. But is there an issue, as what Murray said, if there's a tree falling down, then maybe the neighborhood could ask the county to come back to us and say, hey, the tree fell down.
Tommy, we got all that.
Okay, well, that's
But
what
you
I'm
can
trying
always-
to say is I think everything should be right. We're not putting no water retention pond in the 25-foot.
But you could. The way
I
it
think we
reads-
need to, if y'all need that spelled out, let's write it down.
Exactly.
Water facility is only so that when it rains, that water from these people's yard don't not back up in their yard. It keeps flowing. So that's the only reason we're talking about letting this flow.
I got you.
And we're not engineer, I mean, they are, but we didn't specifically, as we haven't designed Because
Tommy, I got
I've
it.
already spent, trust me, to try to accommodate and to give some things to look at. So we can sit here, and it's not like first time this has ever been an industrial development, but there is concern with the neighbors, and we're doing our best. The thing is, we can walk out of here and say, we'll stick with what we have, and we'll start developing. 15-foot,
Tommy, we understand that. Please don't go over that again.
okay, no, I'm
We
not
got
being
that.
mean.
I
But
got you.
whatever y'all want, please.
Let's
If it's
get-
15-foot, 25-foot, we can do the drainage in the 15-foot. Let's say 25 completely undisturbed, if
All right,
that's
Tommy,
complete.
we got it. Let us come up with what our requirements would be and get with our constituents, okay?
Sounds wonderful.
I do have a question for you, engineer, if one wants to come up here to the
Oh,
podium.
by the way, thank y'all.
Thank you, Tommy. Question from one of the engineers. We have a development where they did a 150-foot, when we allowed them to do a 25-foot berm, but they did it on 100 foot of property, which allowed for more undisturbed. Why do we need 110 feet for this particular berm?
To get the 25-foot height on the berm. We were focusing on the height because the sound study
But we've got
indicated
one that's doing 25-foot berm on 100 feet.
it must be,
That's 150 feet.
No, but it's 50 foot undisturbed, and then it's a 25-foot berm.
I'd be surprised. That would be difficult because we even had Terracon to look at the soils to make sure we could do it at 2 to 1. If you
And
went
if-
steeper,
I got you, but if the
Yeah.
board remember, we said if you need more footage than that, you need to take it from your side of the property, not the
I
undisturbed.
think you're right. And I think it was your firm, it was Chesterfield, I think y'all do work for them. But I think you're right, that they may have to go inside of that one, in their side of the 150.
yeah, we're trying.
That makes
What we've
sense.
tried to do, and I think Murray can speak to as well, is balance the different. Because what we learned in the sound study, and obviously the visibility you can't see through a berm, but in the sound study, the height is the critical element. So that's where we
We
tried
want
to
the
stack up the
25
dirt.
foot. You had already proposed one at 100 foot with a 50 foot, but with the caveat that if you needed more than the 100 foot, you would take it from your client's side, not from the undisturbed buffer. I don't know if
You talking
remember
about this
that.
project?
Nope, on another
So
project.
I personally wasn't involved in that one, so I'm at a disadvantage on that one.
I don't think we're comparing apples to apples here.
Yeah, I'm not, and I'm honest, I'm not.
The other line had a big, sizable wetlands
Wetlands,
on
it
that
did.
end as well, so, I
It
mean, we're
did.
not dealing with that on this either.
No, but they couldn't fill the wetlands in, but I do remember that they had to have 50 foot undisturbed with
Yeah,
a,
it was 50, and
and then a buffer, a berm of 25 foot.
we knew it'd probably create about a 200-foot, buffer area because of
In
the
fair-
wetlands.
yeah.
And to be
In
fair,
fairness on that one, with the wetlands
We
off
knew
the
it'd be a
property
big
line,
one.
all the drainage was going there, so there was nothing coming back to that berm, I understand that.
right,
Okay,
so
I
that
got
may
you on
make
the-
it
on the
easier on
drainage.
that side of
But-
it. I don't know, but we did do that
Well,
with
that
the
probably answers the
assumption.
question then, yeah.
What, and I don't know the magic of 2 to 1 slope. I mean, is that critical?
Yeah, well,
And I'm asking, 'cause I don't.
Sure. So
Safety
quickly, typically when you're designing a slope of any kind, a 3 to 1 is optimal because it allows you to maintain it and cut it more easily. And it also, the dirt won't collapse because you got to make sure you got the right type of soil. You can go 2 to 1, but you got to make sure it's a certain type of soil, otherwise it can slump and fail, which you don't want either. And so in this instance, we actually had Terracon take a look at the soils on site, and they confirmed that we could do a 2 to 1 slope, which is about as steep as you want to go if you want to be able to maintain it and keep the dirt in place.
For the 2
I
to
was
1, you
just
need the full
looking-
110
Correct.
footprint.
Correct. Because we
I
wanted the
was
flat
just-
top, we wanted the height, so we did a lot of optimization on that to get the 2 to 1, the height right and the top right, so you could maintain it, and it gives you proper screening for sound.
I was
and
just
noise.
tinkering myself, trying to turn that 110 into 100 to make that 45, or I'm sorry, that 40, 50.
You'd have to use a
You
different
go to
material.
1.91 slope or something.
Yeah, it ends up
It's-
being very costly because you have to use either different material, you have to supplement it with it. So we tried to kind of using the dirt that was coming off the site and still getting the intent was you get the maximum sound benefit with the height.
Now you could do it, but you'd have to drop the berm 15 inches. I think that's
Right.
what it.
And this berm, would it be the full length, or is it related to the previous diagram where there was a section you would not have the berm because it's wetlands?
There would be a section where it's wetlands, where you have the full 300 foot that was originally required.
But-
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, we've changed that.
This one's been.
Okay,
changed.
I'm sorry.
It was kind of a phase-in type thing, I think I saw in the
We've changed
document.
it to what?
Changed it to 2 sections. If buildings 1, 2, or 3 are built, then section A has
Oh,
to
that's
be
right.
built.
There you go.
If buildings 4, 5, and 6 any one of those is built, section B has to be built.
So if they were built, the buffer would be all the way,
Unless we
Burn.
came,
yeah, thank you.
unless we came back to you
I got you.
for a variance.
That
And
answers it.
building number 4 sits right on the edge of a wetland.
Okay,
You
so
know,
there's no
Unless
space.
there's some change in the economics of things, or for the Corps of Engineers,
I got you.
then there's a likelihood that building number 4 is not gonna get built like it's shown on there.
I got
And
you.
that we'd have to come back to y'all to leave that section of berm out, which you have under the PD, under your authority, you can say no. You can't build 4,
All
5,
right.
and 6.
That's very good. Why don't we take a few minutes and let the constituents, what they've heard tonight, see what they think about what I'm thinking anyway, with the 150-foot buffer, call it setback, but we specify it'd be a 25-foot undisturbed, including no storm drainage in that.
What nature does, nature does.
Let me finish though.
And we can
Yes,
get, we can list a stipulation.
Yeah,
on
let me
what they
finish so the constituents know what I'm trying to say anyway. So it'd be 150-foot buffer or setback as you've suggested, 25-foot berm with a 25 undisturbed buffer with 15-foot left for drainage. I would want the board to require the engineering design to be reviewed, that would take care of the drainage coming off. I think that's part of the land use anyway with Georgia Soil and Water.
That's already in your ordinance, that we have to get your
Mr.
engineering
Chairman?
department to
Yes.
bless it, so yes.
That would be something they will have to come back for sketch plan.
Right, just want to make sure that we're expecting that all
Absolutely.
the water that drains, not just from their property, that's what the Georgia Soil and Water, but what's going to drain that naturally is going to be stopped, how are they going to handle that coming off the other property that's going to be stopped because there's a berm there? Okay? In my mind, if we did that and we could assure ourselves that there would be no manufacturing, then I would be on board if the constituents are on board. So that's where we are,
Thank you.
okay?
The tampering with, excuse me, not tampering, that's a bit, excuse me, I didn't mean to use that word. I did use it, but it was a slip. Altering what is allowed in the manufacturing, that section in this document, we cannot live with. So if that's the only way, then we're, just turn us down.
Okay, we can do that too.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, is there anyone from the constituents that'd like to speak against this that has heard tonight's discussion and want to add some input? We've got your emails, we have read them, we've reviewed, we looked at your concerns, so don't feel like you hadn't been heard, but we want to see if there's anything else from discussion tonight that you might like to ask us or discuss with us. If you can come forward this time. Who's here tonight from the constituents? Okay, there we go.
Hey, how are y'all? My name's Alice Hurst, and I know y'all got my email. I want clarification on what you're saying about the 15-foot. So you're saying the 25-foot undisturbed, the 15 feet, y'all are gonna allow that to be undisturbed?
To be disturbed.
To be disturbed.
To be
Yeah,
disturbed, so
that's
y'all
what the
are
engi-
gonna allow
They
that?
return to the engineer and say, can we build the drainage in that 15-foot to keep
Right.
that water that's flowing off the property around? And I guess there might even be some culverts through the berm, I don't
Yeah,
know.
they'll have
Right.
to do
He's shaking his head
something
yes.
Side to keep it from going on the
So that
adjacent property, so that
Berm that was built in Jamestown that y'all approved, did that have a
We'll
drainage
have to.
system or?
hadn't been built yet, but it'll have to have one.
Right,
It-
but
it-
they didn't ask for extra footage from the undisturbed buffer from the community in
No,
order
but-
to do that, correct?
But in all fairness, it'll probably drain in the wetlands anyway, as long as they don't put any more water than currently is going in those wetlands, they could, use that to their advantage.
They'll
I
have
just
to-
hate to see y'all set a precedence on a 25-foot buffer undisturbed for industrial to residential for this county. I mean, I think that's absurd.
But the only reason we're considering it is so that we can consider constituents concerned about the 1,350 homes. That's the only reason we're considering
If
it.
they were gonna build that, they'd have done it.
I don't think
It's
we're
been
setting a
on that for
precedence
so
on
many
it because
years.
it
Do
doesn't,
Let
that
'em.
doesn't normally come up as far as, I mean, we normally, in the regular ordinance, I mean, is 300 feet, but this is a different scenario where they're already approved for 1,350 apartments.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a totally different situation here.
Right.
So I don't think there's setting any precedents here. And as we've stated before, from what we've heard, and I've been at the workshop, I mean, at the town hall meeting, I mean, it seems like everybody wanted the industrial because they wanted 25-foot berm.
Everybody
So
does
that's why
want the
we put
industrial.
this much time in this
But they don't know
process.
they have a choice. They don't want that 25-foot undisturbed buffer. They rather have it the 50 feet like y'all passed previously in Jamestown. But they've compromised to the 40 feet if they could get that, but they're still not getting that. They're just gonna get 25.
Well,
And then whatever
every
could be done.
project, every piece of property is different and
Right, I understand that, but if you're gonna make the industrial, y'all are in the process of changing the industrial now to the 150 foot from the 300 foot, and you're gonna require a 100-foot berm, 50-foot undisturbed buffer, that's gonna be in the ordinance, right?
There's different criteria where if the developer wants something, they have to give up X.
Right.
And it's clearly spelled out. There's
If the
several different
community
situations.
They have to give up X. So they came in here at 200 feet, asking for a 100-foot undisturbed buffer. Now they're down to 25 foot. They've gotten an extra 2,500,000 square feet of warehouse space. The community's gotten 25-foot buffer. So what did they get?
Regardless of what people think, what's being proposed tonight with this 25-foot vegetative buffer is far better than just a 35-foot blank buffer with 4-story high apartment buildings right next door to you.
I guess, Ms. Alice, if you're asking what the constituents are being offered, and it's not from the commissioners, from the developer, we're just trying to evaluate both sides and see what meets most of the constituents' needs, is they're not getting something 35 feet off the property line. They're getting something 150 feet off the property line with a 25-foot berm that will probably be a lot quieter, a lot less traffic, a lot less noise, particularly if we limit it to warehousing.
But
That's
with
what they're getting.
25 foot undisturbed and then 15 feet being able to be disturbed, they're gonna be seeing stuff from their backyard, because they're gonna be coming in there and working in that 15 foot.
No, because the next thing they're gonna see
to
is a
put-
25-foot vegetative berm. That's the next thing they're gonna see.
Yeah, but
So what are
that
they gonna see?
15 foot is, it's gonna be the undisturbed, and then 15 foot is gonna be before the berm, so
No, you
they'll
got-
be able to see.
No, you got,
It's drainage.
No, that's just drainage.
That's
That's
all
it.
Yeah,
that'd
you
be.
say it's just drainage, but you have to run equipment in there to put in culvert pipes. You, I
oh,
mean.
yeah,
It'd
yeah.
be done, they'll have to
Yeah,
construct
but once
it.
the construction
It'll
is
be
done, once
It's
the
over.
drainage is in and the berm is done, there'll be no equipment in there except just to take a tree out that falls down or whatever. So there is no, so a constituent will not see apartments. They will not see buildings. They will have 150 foot of, what are they, you asked, what are they getting? 150 foot completely vegetated, particularly after the drainage is in. They'll have to keep it to a grass, I'm sure, or a ditch or something on that 15 foot. But they're getting 150 versus 35 setback, and they will not see apartments and noise that they'll have. That's what they're getting. If they don't want that, that's fine. We can turn the warehousing down.
My facts water, not this. So I was just stating my opinion
wanna kinda
about
clarify-
what the county's doing.
Kind of our buffer ordinance, and I'm not speaking one way or the other, this is just point of fact, because I've really been reading over the buffer ordinance more than I have in the past. It's kind of a misnomer, when we say undisturbed buffer, that's kind of a misnomer, because a buffer, in our ordinance, a buffer is undisturbed. There are, exceptions to be able to disturb that buffer. And when you put a berm in the buffer, we're actually granting an exception to the buffer ordinance by allowing the berm in a way, if that kind of makes sense. But there are, for instance, utilities, drainage can be in a buffer. They should be in a perpendicular type fashion. So there already is mechanisms for activity to occur in a buffer. I just wanted to clarify. I hope that makes sense, but
Yeah, it
our
does.
buffer ordinance really does address that,
Yeah.
and allows for all those things.
I guess in my mind, I just think the whole 15 foot is a little misleading. So, but you know my opinion.
Well, we want to be reasonable that if we expect drainage to keep water off adjoining properties, they gotta have some property they can work with. And they can't work with it if we make it undisturbable. So. Okay, anyone else want to speak against? Since we had a good bit of time, I'm gonna give a few more minutes to the opposition side.
Yeah, my name's Troy McCreary. I live adjacent to property. I mean, if it's gonna be this, I like to have some of these things scratched that they can do behind us. I'd put in, number 10, recycling center,
No, I'm with you. I've already noted all that, so.
the ready mix. And the big two is 17, 18, railroad sidetrack, spur on 18. I mean, if they ain't supposed to have that, it shouldn't even be in here.
Yeah,
right?
that's already stipulated, so they won't be able to.
Right. I mean, it's still in here.
You can't stipulate.
It'll be in there, but as long as it's stipulated on the approval.
It's what we do on the resolution that's gonna restrict it.
And there's, let's see, and there was a recycled tires or something somewhere in there, one of them.
Yep, all that's gonna be restricted from our standpoint if they approve it. I'm gonna recommend that anyway. I've got them all circled. Manufacturing, recycling, ready-mix concrete. Of course, the railroad spur's already been restricted by the planning board. Got to accept that. And so we've got a lot of those. I'm with you.
And I'm kind of with Allison, I feel we need a bigger setback. All our water drains to that property. We're gonna be in the same problem she's in now. Our land getting saturated with water, with that berm being so close and it dumping water right to our property. And it's not gonna be enough land in between there, I don't think, on big storms to move it all. I've already been in that problem. I had to get y'all to dig ditch out a couple years ago. And we're the highest sand hill in the county.
Well, that's why I was saying I'd want and she's saying that's required already, but I'm gonna just note it. An engineering study that shows there'll be an appropriate volume of ditching and drainage and culverts to move that water away from the berm that's coming off the other property.
Just like I said, it all drains that way.
Yeah.
When we had that one little ditch back up, it saturated my property, made my neighbor's drain pipe cave in from septic tank and we couldn't move any water. I mean, with that hill being that close, that's where we're gonna be at again.
All right.
Can you repeat your name, please?
Troy McCreary.
All right, I need to put some closure to this and move it toward either a tabling for tweaking or a discussion. Mr. Murray, is there anything tonight that you've heard from this board that you could not comply with if they try to move forward?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you standing up. I apologize.
That's all right. Nobody sees me.
Could I
I'm
make
small.
a motion instead of going?
Can I have a second?
Yeah, go ahead. Take a minute.
Okay.
Take more than
Thank
that.
you.
One minute.
How y'all doing? My name is Tammy Harmon. Everybody calls me TJ. I'm the one that's the environmentalist. I'm the one that's all about the animals and everything. And my big thing is also on this list of things. Did y'all notice that it said fabricated metals, excluding the use of blast furnaces, meat products? Are y'all gonna knock those things out?
Yeah.
Because I know the list is long, especially about the trailer and stuff. But I really think, and I know you're probably gonna, does anybody on this board own a concrete company? Or is in?
Yeah,
none of that?
we've already said we're gonna restrict the concrete.
Okay,
business.
okay. And then the other thing is, I really know that y'all, can't you make it at least 200 back? Because 25 is only from here to there. I mean, it's nothing.
I got you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank y'all for listening.
Thank you. All right.
There's a lot of good things about what you guys have done, which I appreciate. I love the solid berm area. That's a plus for the people there. The extension of the setback area, we started, I think, with 100, we went 115, now we're 150, which is what I asked you for originally. And I think that's great, and it's in line with what we've done in the past. Sound control studies, unprecedented, nobody's done that, and I really appreciate that. It helps everybody. I do think I'm in a position, maybe some more of us are in a position right now. I mean, we just got new stuff that we haven't really digested. I like to table this for 30 days, bring it back, because it's going to take time to go over this. My constituents deserve time to look the new documents over. I need time to really for stipulation creation to where it makes sense for everybody. I think it'd be kind of hard to do to encompass everything we're trying to do for both sides and have something fair for both sides and protective for our neighbors here. And especially for everybody to review the new documents. I just got those today, looked over it. It's just really not enough time to really digest everything for me. So that's what I'd like to do. I think, you know, a lot of tension in the room, a lot of anxiety with me because everybody's going back and forth, but I really need time to digest and make a good decision and talk more about what we're doing here.
May I respond to something? We're in favor of that, but I'd like to respond to something you asked me a minute ago before I went outside. But I know if the motion to table maybe cuts me off, so.
Well, we got a motion table, so you'll be able to respond to me on that if you want to, by phone or come by, that's okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
And
Since if you're gonna table it, we're not gonna accomplish anything else by discussion tonight anyway.
Right, and I'm forthright, and I always am. I've met with you guys, I've met with constituents, you know, to try to do equal time. And, I just want to do it the right way and protect these houses the best we can and to make the best decision for the people. You know, I still have overwhelming response with the people wanting warehousing, but I want to make sure we protect them as much as possible. And getting these stipulations correct and right is going to be important for that.
Well, Roger, if that's a motion, I'll second. I've always voted in favor of more time for more information. Appreciate everybody's comments from the community, emails, phone calls, all the information from the applicant. I know y'all have put a lot of time and obviously a lot of these diagrams that y'all have shared, so appreciate that information. But, you know, if we need more time to come to a decision, then I support that.
All right, I'm gonna officially close the public hearing. I think we've heard, so it's really just for us to get our minds around what the constituents and the developer is asking for. So when we come back, it'll be for us to review with additional information, okay? So with that, I have a motion by Mr. Burdette, I have a second by Mr. Loach to table this. Did you say for 30 days, or you wanna just go
I
to?
think we should do 30 days. If the engineers have to do anything extra, they'll have time. If
Y'all good
you
with
guys
that?
come-
All right.
That gives you
All
a
right.
good couple of weeks
So
to
it'll be the
formulate
second
something,
meeting
get something in their
in
hands that they
September.
can view. And I think that would
that
be
date?
September 19th.
September 19th. So the motion is to table to September 19th, 2023. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, the item is tabled.
And I apologize to constituents, but I just want to make sure we get this right. You know,
Yep.
it's a big deal for everybody.
It's huge, and I think you're working with the constituents. I appreciate that. We're very close. Some things we need to be sure of, okay? All right.
So
sounds
there will be action at the next meeting, because I
good.
think
Will
we're
be
out
action
of,
next meeting.
Yeah.
we're out of timeouts.
And there-
Better have
yeah.
one this contentious and
Yeah.
in-depth. It really is in-depth, but
Yep.
there's a lot of moving parts to it. It really is.
All right, thank everybody who came for that item. If you want to dismiss, you can, or you can hang around for the rest of the meeting. It's up to you. All right, then we'll move to item number 3. The planning board recommends approving an application. We'll give everybody just a minute to change their positions. Item number 3, the planning board recommends approving an application by Warren M. Kennedy to rezone 1.13 acres located at 195 Elm Street from R2 to B3 to allow for a storage facility, map number 302, parcel number 167 in the First District. This was postponed from August 1st, 2023.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
So just where we left off, the applicant is requesting this rezoning in order to develop outdoor storage of large items such as RVs, boats. The question had been over access, and the applicant is here this evening.
Yeah, I had a concern on this, just, if he has access to 80, why we're not coming across 80. Now, there is a Georgia Power easement there. My concern, and I discussed this with Mr. Kennedy, you know, a boat storage yard isn't gonna cause that much traffic on a county road, but there's all kinds of stuff happening along Highway 80, and if somebody comes and offers him the right money and he decides to sell, we've got a piece of B3 property being accessed off of a small county road. We just dealt with a piece of property off of Dogwood that we restricted to Highway 80 just last month, I believe, and the residents did not want traffic on that county road. They wanted off of 80. So talking with Lee, I don't know, have you talked with Georgia Power? Do you have, there's no entrance at all off of Highway 80 at this point?
It's an interest there. Yes, it is.
So there is an entrance?
Yeah.
Okay. So you do have access from Highway 80?
Yeah. But I prefer Elm Street.
Well, I understand.
And another thing too, when you said if I were to sell in the next 5 or 10 years, couldn't there be a restriction on that if by chance someone else did come in and want to buy? Wouldn't they have to come through the same?
If the zonings, that's what I was asking our attorney, and he can clarify it. So if we zone it B3 and we give him permission for this use off of Elm Street, which again, boat storage isn't going to generate that much traffic, but he sells it in a few years, can we restrict it to if he sells it or if there's another use in that zoning, they have to come back before us? But I'm thinking once it's rezoned, it's rezoned.
So why did the event venue on McCall Road, when they sold that property, the new owners had to come back to us and get the property rezoned because ownership changed? But that could have been because it was a conditional use, maybe?
Okay, yeah, this is a
So
zoning
this is, so if this
request.
is B3, then it would probably stay B3 then, because it's a normal.
Yeah, no, it's not now, it's being rezoned.
Yeah, but I mean, if it was B3, then it would carry, I would think it would carry over to the next owner.
So Lee, if it be three and we restrict the access, don't restrict the access that he can use Elm Street, can we do something to make it be Highway 80 if another business use happened?
That gets a little tricky. You know, I would think you can put conditions on it.
So you could put a condition, you
On
can
the-
access to Elm Street as long as it's a boat storage facility.
Well, I think you would condition the use, and also I would put maybe a restriction on the type of vehicle, and Commissioner Burdette may be able to help us here. That way, there's nothing that comes in the future that, you know, like Forrest had pointed out.
The dump
If-
truck,
right.
the guy has 15 dump trucks.
Right, so if we condition, or restrict it to a use, number one, and then condition no trucks over a certain weight limit, I think that will, without giving it any more thought, probably limit it to his particular use, and then if he sells, then it's gonna need to come back to us if they wanna do something different than what he's doing.
And could you make it more simpler? We restrict the access to Elm Street for as long as he owns this B3 property. If it's sold, they have to come back to request access?
Well, I think that just, it'll allow the next applicant to say, well, why, what's different? How am I different?
Let's back up. If you have access to 80 and there is an entrance there,
Do we even want
why are we even talking about Elm Street? Because again, we just did this off of, the property off of Dogwood and made him close that where he couldn't even use Dogwood
that'd be the simplest way, is just
to do it right.
do it right.
It's true. I agree
He
with
could
that.
use it off of both streets. He could use 80 or,
Yeah, but then but then the 80 is a
80,
kind of a
you're done.
private county road. If you had a higher use B3 that came in there with big trucks coming down Elm Street, residents aren't gonna appreciate that when they got
but
Highway
they'd
80.
have to go, they'd have to come off 80.
Not unless we
Says
do
who?
something now.
Not if they can use Elm Street.
Mr. Kennedy, is there a reason why you want to use Elm versus Highway 80?
Well, that's been my address. That property been in my family for generations, and that's the entrance I'm using now, and it's much convenient to get off Elm Street. And the lot next door to me, to the right there, is commercialized anyway, and then there's only like 3 houses on that road, and one of the houses belongs to me. And I live right on Sand Hill and 80.
Yes, sir.
I mean, Sand Hill and Elm Street there. And no one has opposed it yet. You know, it's family members that's on that same street by me.
What type of business is next to you?
Well, it was rezoned for commercial. I think it was intended to be a truck stop or something, but it's up for sale again now.
Are you talking about the corner?
Off of 80?
I
Talking
don't,
about the corner there?
I'm not sure where it's access off. Matter of fact, it's adjoining my property on, not that particular lot, but I have another piece of property on Elm Street at Sand Hill and Elm Street. And it's right there adjoining to that property too, so I don't know if they're using Elm Street. I don't see no restrictions on it.
What kind of road is Elm Street? Is it
It's
Was it
just,
an ash road that was improved?
it's
or
a road that's
was it
been
a
forgotten.
full-blown road?
Seems like it's been forgotten by the county. We've been trying to get them to pave it correctly for years, and they come in and put this crusher run and came back and put some rocks on it, and it's got, I mean, it's been forgotten.
It's a rough road.
Oh, if you go,
Cut through there just to save that 30 seconds. It's not a really good road.
no, because right,
I'm
if you
thinking
come
you might
up,
ought to come in off 80 just because
I've thought about it several times, but I've never went down.
if you come off Sand Hill,
It's just not a very good road.
come off Sand Hill, get on Elm Street, you got potholes as big, right in front of my brother's house, which I own the house.
Yeah.
You got to drive over to his yard to get on the street. It's been neglected for years. And
The
you
other
can't tell me
thing,
it
on all
hadn't.
these other lots, my concern was, well, let's just say, and again, these are all hypotheticals, they combine all those lots, then we have 3 acres of commercial that can use Elm Street.
So, gentlemen, I do just want to point out that this will have to go to sketch plan, and the development is minimal to the point that any future changed use, particularly if more property is added, will have to go through proper development, evaluation,
If it's combined.
and sketch plans.
Okay.
Yes.
And access is determined through the sketch plan as well.
Yes, because it also, Mr. Kennedy is going to actually need to get approval from GDOT and see if there's anything he would need to do to improve that access from Highway 80.
Yeah. All right, just because we advertise as a public hearing, let me see if there's anyone tonight speaking against this rezoning request. Seeing no one, we're going to close the public hearing.
I don't have any problem with the rezoning. I'm just trying to find out if we can restrict it to this, so if it changes hands, we don't have a bigger issue in the future. I mean, I think you should be able to rezone it.
Sure. It access is the question. Lee, can you give Commissioner Floyd some language that will restrict it, that
Said restrict to boat storage for the use, but in a condition of maybe a weight limit for the types of equipment, or?
Yeah, I'd recommend definitely we table this one so we could work, or at least have some language to see if the applicant would be
Okay, I've
acceptable
tabled
to
it
it.
once. Mr. Kennedy, you'd have to ask us to table it to try to get the language correct. Is that okay?
you table it twice?
Yeah, he's already done it once.
I asked last time because Mr. Kennedy.
I thought the
You
board
could
could
do it
table
by
it twice.
axle or weight. You could do limit it to 2 axle vehicles.
Would
And
you
that
like us to
cut out
table
big
this so we can get
trucks
some language that would restrict it so
or
that you
weight
could use Elm Street,
or class.
but it be restricted just to your use?
That's fine.
Okay.
How long, you gonna do it at the same time we did, right, is 19th of September? That good?
Okay.
19th of September? at the
Motion
meeting?
by Mr. Floyd to table to September 19.
Yep.
My only concern is just making sure, I mean, we want to protect the county roads when we can in a situation like this. And just make sure we don't set a precedence where we're allowing a lot of commercial on unimproved roads.
That's my concern also.
You need to go ride that
Still,
road.
I
There's a
get
way
it.
to
It's
restrict
trying to
it.
trying to find the right way.
Well, wouldn't that road be restricted anyway to commercial traffic, to big
Do we have a
trucks?
motion? Do we have a second?
Yeah, anybody give a second here?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burdette. Okay, all right. Now, is any final discussion? All right, all in favor of tabling to September 19th, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. We're gonna table it, see if we get some language that might help you and
And one of us will be in touch, either Katie or somebody, to kind of discuss what we can do to try to work with you.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
thank you, sir. Item number 5, an unfinished business, consideration to approve the second reading of an amendment to the Code of Ordinances, Part 2, Official Code, Chapter 14, Building and Public Regulations, Article 2, Construction Codes, Division 2, Administration and Enforcement, and Section 14-56 to clarify site plan requirements for issuance of permits. This is the first reading, was approved on 8/1/23. So this is the second reading. Motion to approve the second reading?
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Floyd. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. Move to new business. Consideration to approve the countywide water and wastewater master plan as submitted by Alliance Consulting Engineers. We do have it. I just haven't reviewed it yet.
Good evening, sir. We provided a countywide water and wastewater master plan for Effingham County, Georgia, completed in July 2023. We got input from the county as well as the other utilities in the county, including the city of Springfield, city of Rincon, and city of Guyton. I believe there were some minor issues collecting some information that was needed from Guyton as well as Rincon, but nothing that kept us from conducting the study. Again, we were mainly focused on water and wastewater needs for Effingham County. During the course of the study, there were immediate actions taken over wastewater treatment capacity and treated wastewater effluent disposal, both by land application, water reuse, as well as pursuing a surface water discharge. There were 2 surface water discharges proposed by Georgia EPD at the Ogeechee Run and Ogeechee River. We did some studies and evaluations for the discharge at the Ogeechee Run, and we're told that that was not feasible discharge location. So right now, I believe there are plans in motion with another engineering firm to build a new treatment plant for the county and have that discharge on the Ogeechee River. I believe on the water supply side, the Effingham County has adequate supply for the future from the city of Savannah, but there is recommendation made that the county be proactive in terms of looking at its own water withdrawal sources, whether that be groundwater or surface water. Otherwise, you're kind of at the mercy of city of Savannah and what they are to wholesale to the county. As most of you are probably aware, regulations around drinking water and wastewater treatment and disposal are only getting tighter as time passes. Resources are only becoming more and more scarce. So again, it's very important that the county take a proactive approach. Obviously, with what's in place right now, there's a lot of projects in motion to continue to handle the residential and industrial growth in the county. And I think most of that is pertained to the southern part of the county and around the municipalities. Beyond that, obviously, I think everybody's aware that that I-16 corridor, not far from the Hyundai project, will be a major growth area as the next decades pass. So just wanted to be here tonight to answer any questions on this study for each commissioners.
Well, I hadn't had a chance to read it, so we might have to ask you to come back. But does anybody have any questions? Have you had
I did, but I think you answered them. Because I noticed on some, like particularly with the cities, with a lot of their infrastructure, just there wasn't anything on the map. But it sounds like y'all weren't able to get the information. So the answer is that. But I think it would be good going down the road, really having that, really knowing where the cities are to really, you know, and maybe it could be updated if we could get that information, you know, as we do get it.
Sure, and I think the major information from the cities in terms of their water and wastewater capacities, as well as projects they had that were available from public resources, we were able to get into the report. Some of the details about their system were not. I would point out as well, there was a recommendation or just a point of information later in the report about the possibility of regionalization. Obviously, organizationally, legally, financially, there's a lot of different ways those things can be set up. So we didn't get into detail as to exactly what those options were and which might be best for the county. But that was mainly with respect to drinking water supply and wastewater treatment and disposal. Again, those resources are tough to come by. They're tough to get permitted. And it could make sense for the county and those cities to kind of pursue future sources of drinking water and future disposal, treatment of wastewater, kind of in a joint effort.
Yeah. So this plan would get a lot more complicated as you go down that road, I would imagine.
Certainly.
Not complicated, but more
just so the board
involved.
remembers, we're already connected to one water system.
Huh?
We're already connected to one city system already. So. And we are actually looking at some kind of regional approach that would involve Savannah, Chatham, ourselves, you know, and some kind of regional approach to the surface water down the road, so.
Sure.
Okay. All right, we have our master plan submitted by Alliance Consulting. Alternative 1 is to accept it. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve alternate number 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Loper, second by Mr. Kiefer. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, I got to recuse myself on the next item. I've got a banking relationship with the Platinum Paving and Concrete.
Okay. All right, item number 2, and if your record would note that Mr. Deloach has recused himself and stepped down. Consideration to approve contract 23-ITB-030 with Platinum Paving and Concrete LLC for 2023-2024 LMIG project.
Yes, sir. So we did combine the project list for 23 and 24 LMIG into this contract, and those roads are listed on your staff report. We did receive 4 proposals, and again, the breakdown is listed on your staff report. These have all been reviewed by staff and Robert Civil Engineering, who's serving as the engineer on the project, and staff recommends alternative 1.
Okay, any questions or discussion for Allison, or do I have a motion?
These are much-needed projects. I make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kiefer, second by Mr. Loper to approve as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
And as Mr. Deloach is returning to the bench, item number 3 under new business is consideration to approve the purchase of self-contained breathing apparatus units at an extremely lot of money.
Yes, sir, it is. These are actually for SCBA's, which are the air packs that we use on firefighting and hazmat calls. Right now, well, the lifespan of these, the cylinders is 15 years, of which the air packs are more on a cycle, an NFPA cycle. But with that being said, a lot of the packs we have now, we did purchase new in that 2009, 2010 era, which we're getting to that 15-year mark, but we've also bought a lot over the years that have been used. So our goal was to get the entire fleet on the same age bracket, as well as updating to the current NFPA standards.
We're not giving up a lot of years. It's 08, that'd be, 15
Well, next
to
year,
24.
I don't expect them to actually get here till probably 24.
So we won't be giving up on any.
We really won't be giving up any
Why
years.
130? Because you have to have them at every site?
Yes, sir, this is doing the entire fleet, because we like to keep especially air packs, everything the same, so we don't have different manufacturers or different standards on different trucks. We try to keep them as identical as possible.
Okay. All right, any other discussion or a motion?
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Floyd for alternative 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. Item number 4, consideration to approve an agreement with Summit Foods LLC for the Effingham County Jail, Prison, and Senior Citizens Meals.
Yes, sir. Allison Bruton, purchasing agent. Just realized I didn't introduce myself on the last one either. So we have had an agreement in place with Summit since 2018, and this is to provide meals for the prison, the jail, and the senior center. So the staff now with the new warden and new leadership at the senior center, we did post an RFP to get an opportunity to review new submittals from other vendors. 2 proposals were submitted, one from Summit and one from Trinity. After review by all staff, the recommendation was to award to Summit Food Services again. So staff recommends alternative 1.
Did I just miss it, or was Trinity's not in the packet? Not in the packet?
I may not have included their proposal in the packet, no, sir, because all staff was in agreement with awarding to Summit. Both firms are qualified. The county had actually had Trinity once in the past and terminated early. With this one, the proposals were great. It really came down to pricing.
And Summit was lower.
Mhm.
I just couldn't
Yes,
verify because I didn't see it in there.
Sorry. Yes, sir.
All right.
Why did we terminate last time?
I don't recall. It was with previous staff. I'm not
Is there
really
an
sure.
what was the percent increase overall on the meals? You know,
I'm not sure.
6%, 8%, 5%?
The previous meal prices?
Huh?
Oh, the previous meal prices?
Yeah.
For the seniors were 4.788 per meal, and so they're up to 4.850, so a slight increase.
Okay, yeah. It'd be good on these information to put the increase in the cost.
Okay.
Because that, you know, if it's like 10 or 15 or 20, Mr. Loach might want to say, hey, I want to bid that, you know. But when we hear it's 4%, we know inflation's 6 or 8%, we say, oh, that's not bad.
Well,
that's
we
good.
did bid it, so if y'all didn't like it, we'd be without meals for a while. But yes, sir, I'll make sure to include that moving forward.
The increase is always
Mhm.
key in my head. Do you have a
Understood.
motion to approve alternative one?
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Floyd to approve alternative one. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no no's, it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Item number 5, consideration to approve a warranty deed for Blandford Crossing Phase 1, located off of Blue Jay Road, map number 414, parcel number 13 in 2nd District.
Good evening. So Chelsea Fernald, Planner 2. The final plat for Blandford Crossing Phase 1 was approved in December of 2008. This deed includes streets and right-of-ways for Blandford Crossing Phase 1, along with their pump station. The county attorney has reviewed the deed, and staff does recommend approval.
Any question or discussion or motion?
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
All right, motion by Mr. Mr. Loper. Second by Mr. Burdette. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no no's, it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 6, consideration to approve resolution 23-019 to amend the 23-24 fiscal year budget.
Good afternoon, Mark Barnes, Finance Director. This amendment is mostly for some smaller equipment purchases, including a replacement of the failing HVAC system at the treatment plant and a commercial oven at the prison. And Public Works is also requested to use some of the savings on some prior equipment purchases to get a bucket attachment and fork attachment for the new loader that's budgeted in this current fiscal year. Staff recommends alternative number 1, approve the resolution to amend the budget.
Any question or discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Loper to approve alternative 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no no's, it passes unanimously. Item number 7, consideration to approve to renew the 5-year contract with Bingham Arbitrage?
Arbitrage.
Okay, thank you. Services Incorporated to perform the arbitrage rebate calculation for the $28,845,000 revenue bond series 2017.
Yes, sir. This is a small contract for the arbitrage calculation services, and these are required on the 2017 water bonds. It's only $750 per year. It's for 5 years. However, we expect to fully expend those water bonds in fiscal year 24, so this should be the last year that we used it. Staff recommends to approve the contract with Bingham Arbitrage Services.
Any discussion or motion?
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Burdette to approve alternative 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no no's, it passes unanimously. Item number 8, consideration to approve the Coastal Regional Commission CRC Area Agency on Aging AAA contract 2024-08 fiscal year 2024.
Yes, sir. This is the fiscal year 24 contract for the senior meals program that we do every year. This year, the contract total is about $253,000. Last year's original contract was about $240,000. They did have some amendments during the year. The plan in this contract is to serve about 25,000 meals over the course of the year. Staff recommends alternative number 1 to approve the CRC contract.
What's the connection between these senior meals and the senior meals in the previous motion?
So the funding from this grant pays for
the other meals.
Part of those,
So
yes,
this
sir.
is just, we're approving the funding from CRC to fund those meals.
There's a spreadsheet where we actually calculate that the CRC makes us calculate the total cost of a meal, and it includes that meal contract that they just
Okay.
had, and the labor cost at the senior center, and all that flows into that number that's in this contract here.
Very good. Is there any discussion or motion?
Make a motion to approve all number 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Loper, second Mr. Kiefer to approve alternative 1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no no's, it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Item number 9, consideration to purchase PO 23-REQ-035. This is for the purchase of a mid-sized loader.
Yes, sir. Allison Bruton, purchasing agent. So we did post an RFQ to purchase a mid-size loader, and EOM is also recommending to approve 2 attachments as well, one being a fork attachment, pipe style, and one is a 4-in-1 bucket attachment. We did receive 5 proposals. Through the review, EOM does recommend award to Dobbs Equipment. They are not the lowest bidder. But according to what they've seen, it looks like that unit might be a little stronger, and then there's a 12-month additional warranty. But you do have both options in your packet. And we do have a representative from Hills Machinery here as well, if y'all had any questions about their unit.
Okay. Let's see if there's any question or discussion. If you got Hills Machinery, they might want to speak if they came this far.
He's here.
Do you want to speak?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, guys. My name is Donnie Crosby. I'm a sales representative for Hills. I was actually previously with Deere for 10 years. Excuse me, I just left 2 months ago to go to work for Hitachi. Hills is a new dealer in Savannah. We cover 4 states, so we're not new to the Hitachi business. Also, you guys may not know, but Deere and Hitachi were in a joint venture for 33 years. They were the exact same machine. They've just recently split a year and a half ago. So essentially, if you're buying a Deere, you're buying a Hitachi. They're pretty much the exact same machines. We meet all specifications that were asked of us by the county, and we did win by about $16,000 low bid.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is EOM here tonight by chance? Okay.
I did confirm with them that they would be fine with either unit. They just, when I asked what their recommendation was, they recommended Dobbs Equipment.
Okay, is any discussion or question with the board?
Mr. Chairman, due to the fact we've still got a 1999 John Deere still in operation, our operators, they like operating the John Deere, and with the warranty situation, I know this expensive piece of equipment, but these things last a long time, and as we've seen, our public works can really, we've definitely got some old machinery in our fleet. We're still using the 99, and I would support the recommendation to purchase the John Deere with Dobbs Equipment.
Okay, so you make a motion?
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Mr. Deloach to approve alternative 1, second by Mr. Burdette. There's no discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, no. Hearing no no's, it passes unanimously. Okay, item number 10. Consideration to approve preliminary statements of work and project plan for the migration to Microsoft Office 365.
Yes, sir. So staff did receive the proposal and statement of work from InterDev to assist in migrating the county to the Microsoft Office 365, upgrading from Microsoft Exchange. The estimated cost for this migration is $49,920, which would be a one-time payment with a monthly recurring fee of $6,720 for the licensing. And they are part of the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance as well. Staff recommends alternative 1.
What do we currently use in pay for subscription?
I'm sorry?
What do we currently use in pay for, for all, I guess everybody still has Office right now, or what do we use?
That I'm not entirely sure.
Chris Reed, IT Director. Today, everyone is using Office or Microsoft Office that's loaded off of our volume license agreement. We are running older versions due to some of the software that we have to interface with throughout the county departments. I have reviewed this agreement, and with the migration Office 365, it meets everything that we need to go going forward.
How many machines are we migrating for 50 grand?
Looking close to 600 machines.
It's a lot. I know my office just did a migration, so it's not a simple task.
No, sir.
You have a motion?
Make a motion to approve alternative 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Floyd to approve alternative 1. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, no. Hearing no no's, it passes unanimously.
He's got you.
Yeah.
Item number 11, consideration to approve quote number 006399V1 for virtual Chief Information Officer. That's VCIO service from InterDev.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So this is from the same company, and this will allow them to implement and manage the county's migration to Microsoft Office 360. This proposal does cover 140 hours for a total of $37,940. And the dedicated VCIO will set up a regular cadence with county management. And there's some items listed on the staff report in the proposal that they're managed, and staff recommends alternative one.
Any questions, discussion, or a motion for alternative one?
Make a motion to approve alternate number one.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Loper, second by Mr. Deloach for alternative one. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no no's, it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Items 12, 13, and 14 were removed by motion in the agenda approval. So we'll move to item number 15, consideration to approve an intergovernmental agreement between the cities of Guyton, Rankin, and Springfield related to the 2023 Transportation Special Local Option Sales Tax Referendum.
Very excited to see this one on the agenda.
Yeah. Of course, I don't think this is the referendum, but this is our IGA of how we would share the resources.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, it's, does anybody want to give a report of that, or
Do we?
Mr. Mark? It's by population, right? Straight population?
I believe so,
That's all.
yes.
I think it's the same thing lost, basically, right, or not? Lost? Lost was not exactly, right?
Well, that was, Lost had a slight modification from the discussions, but it started off based off
That's right,
population.
that's right.
And Splost is population.
Splosh is population, not by the lost.
Correct, correct.
So this is
Same
more
deal
like
we had
Splost.
last time, right?
Yeah.
T-Splosh.
I can't remember if we had any county, we might have had some countywide projects in the last T-Splosh.
We did,
We
yes, sir.
did.
About
There's no
$16 million
countywide
worth.
projects in this one,
There's
straight
nothing.
population, yeah.
Just this year.
Okay, any other question or discussion? Motion to approve alternative one.
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Burdette, second, Mr. Deloach, to approve alternative one. All in favor say aye. Any opposed, no. Hearing no no's, we have an approval of our intergovernmental agreement. That's great. Item number 16, consideration to acknowledge a petition for annexation of property located at 1678 Fort Howard Road, as submitted by the city of Rankin, map number 463, parcel number 29.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this one is a little bit different than what typically comes before you. It's actually already gone through the process of being zoned for annexation for the city. I believe they thought that we had acknowledged, or you all had acknowledged, this particular parcel of property. So at this point, it's just kind of a housekeeping thing. It is contiguous with other properties located within the city. I did speak with one of the City of Rankin staff as well as the property owner about this property, so he is wanting to have this done. It's actually hindering him from getting some permits in the city. So
Okay.
staff does recommend approval.
Yeah, I think this probably happened at the height of COVID and
Yeah.
was just kind of
It's
something
possible.
that happened,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Any other questions or discussions, or a motion to approve alternative one?
make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kiefer, second Mr. Loper to approve alternative one. All in favor say aye. Any opposed, no. Hearing no no's, it passes unanimously. Do we have a need for executive session to discuss, well, we missed the staff reports. Our county manager is not here. Is there someone filling in for the county manager on the staff report?
He told me to sit here, but no, sir, I don't have anything.
No reports. All right. How about our clerk?
Nothing really, just reminders of the upcoming retreat next week. Travel day on Thursday, the 24th. The retreat will go from Friday to Sunday.
Start Friday morning?
Friday morning at 9 a.m.
Okay.
Check-in Thursday night, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Do we have our stuff, or
it's coming.
that's coming?
Yep,
So hit the ground running.
hit the ground running.
Sounds good. All right. We probably can discuss it at the retreat, but I'll go around the horn and see if there's anything you want to look at tonight.
I can wait.
Sounds like we need to take a look at Elm Street, based on what Mr. Kennedy said.
Yeah, I've cut through there. It's not a really good road.
What are you doing over there, man? What are you doing over there?
I thought you guys fixed it.
Anyway,
That's right. No, I'm good.
I'm fine.
Mr. Loper? Do you have any?
Have anything?
Mr. Kiefer?
I'm good.
All right. So if we don't have anything, then do we have a need for executive session night?
We do not.
All right. Executive session minutes, consideration to approve the August 1st, 2023 executive session minutes.
Make a
wanna
motion
take a
to
look at
approve
this?
as presented.
All right, motion by Mr. Deloach.
pass it down, give it back to Stephanie.
We have a second to approve the executive session
Second.
minutes. guess we ought to make sure we get them all passed out before we actually vote. We got a second by, Mr. Burdette, was that right? It looks like what we discussed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no no's, our executive session minutes are approved.
Motion to adjourn?
Have a motion by Mr. Deloach to adjourn. Have a second? Second, Mr. Burdette. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. We're adjourned.
Hey, send these back down for Stephanie.
Send them all back down.
Reggie,
Uh,
y'all send